Morning. We've actually been failed, I think, by many of our business schools who even today continue to teach an old methodology to new world problems. Einstein talks about insanity as being continuing to do what you've always done whilst expecting different results. And that's what many of our business schools have been doing. They've been teaching the way that business has historically been run, to deal with issues that actually no business has faced. So how do you actually tool up a business for a very VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous? I'm going to talk about just 3 areas that we've been involved with at Lloyds. First of all, I'll talk about our leadership populations. I'm then going to touch on some work we've done around the green economy. And then I'm going to talk about new forms of partnerships, which we believe will be critically important in that VUCA world. So with our leadership, back in 2008, I was given the opportunity to have our top 150 for a day. And it was a leap of faith because the banking industry was beginning to collapse. And I was given the leadership for a day to focus on sustainability. In fact, we worked with the Cambridge Programme for Sustainability Leadership as well. We were one of the first corporates to do that, to actually expose our leadership population to them for a day. And we looked at the system pressures. Then we looked at some of the businesses who were beginning to respond. We then looked at what our competition could do, might do. And then we had a dragon's den at the end, where they had to come up with their best ideas to deal with that VUCA world. And unsurprisingly, some of it was around training and development and personal development. So we got ourselves a mandate to work with the business to begin to change the business for a future that was actually quite a long way out there, when we were going to go through a fairly rocky period. And throughout that rocky period, and the business has been through a very difficult few years, this has stayed high on the agenda, and we've continued that training. If you look at what we're doing with our leadership now, we're talking about not change management. We're talking about leading through periods of constant change and beginning to tool our leaders up to be leaders through periods of constant volatility and change. No longer can they put in place some of the traditional methodologies they use for leadership because the world is changing too quickly. With our MBA students, again, we're developing programs which I'll talk about in a moment. With the green economy, we kicked off an initiative in association with Cambridge. We actually wrote the program and got Cambridge to approve it. And we focused that program on the relationship managers we had who were dealing with our business customers, because we recognized that every single one of our corporate customers in some shape or form was going to be impacted by these changes. And as a relationship bank, for us not to be engaging with them on something that could bring great opportunity for their business, but also was a significant risk to their business, was the wrong thing to do. So we wanted to engage. But to do that, we had to train our relationship managers to begin to have those conversations. Now, our relationship managers typically will have a meeting with a customer where they're looking to conclude some business, to sell something. Not to have a strategic discussion about the world of 2020s. And so it was a bit of a mind shift for those relationship managers to begin to have a conversation. It took quite a leap of faith, but the feedback we've had has been tremendous. People saying, I had no idea this particular business was focusing on this area of the economy, and the plans they have are significant, and how we as a business can help them brings us material business benefit as well. We took them through a program that looked at the system pressures, that looked at the increasing regulatory and legislative burdens that are facing businesses. Again, we talked about how business is beginning to respond, and gave some really great examples of customers who are already doing this to bring it to life for them. And then we gave them hints and tips about how to engage their customers on it. We've trained about 650 of our relationship managers, and the what next for us now is continuing professional development as we can keep that population tooled up and equipped to continue to have those discussions with customers. Next thing I'll talk about is collaboration and the need for different business models in the future. We're already seeing large corporates working with NGOs in very, very different ways. WWF is working very effectively with a number of large corporates. Marks & Spencer's working with Oxfam. You have Danone working with the Grameen Corporation. Companies working with NGOs in unusual partnerships, partnerships which would never have been envisaged before. And that needs different skills in an organization to work with the third sector. So we're doing a few things there. One, we've launched a partnership with the School for Social Enterprise, where we're funding bursaries for social entrepreneurs to go through a program with the School for Social Enterprise. We're also giving them small grants to either set up or scale up their social enterprise. But we're giving them a business mentor from the Lloyds Banking Group. Now, that business mentor has to understand social enterprises, how they're very different to mainline corporates, in order to help that social enterprise achieve what they want to achieve. So it's tooling up our people in an environment where it's action learning. We're throwing them into a very unusual situation, and they have to build the skills with our support to support those social entrepreneurs. We're also, with Business in the Community, putting 20 of our managers per annum out for 6 months as business connectors, working with local businesses and local charities and community groups to bring to life the big society. And again, the personal development opportunity that brings those managers is phenomenal when they come back into the business. We're also seconding people increasingly out to charities, and we're starting with our graduate population, secondees out to Business in the Community and to Save the Children as part of their management training program, as we begin to look at those unusual partnerships of the future and train our people to begin to respond to them. So when we look at skills for the future, it's something we absolutely have to do. Otherwise, we will continue to do what we've always done whilst expecting a very different result, which we won't be equipped to respond to. This works for our brand. It works for employee engagement, recruitment, and retention. It helps us to enter new markets, build customer advocacy and loyalty. It helps us to manage our risks. And it's something our investors are increasingly interested in. So this is core to the business. This is the right thing to do. It's the responsible thing to do. And it makes good business sense. So I'm going to stop at that point.